For years now, we have all heard rumors and speculation about a Fallout 3 remaster. Of course, we all knew this was a pipe dream because Todd Howard was stating that he didn't want to remake any of their past games because of nostalgia. Well, all that changed with the FTC trial when Microsoft was acquiring Activision. We saw in those documents that there was a timetable for numerous games, including Oblivion and a Fallout 3 remaster. While the timetable itself was not accurate, the releases have been, for the most part, true. With the recent release of the Oblivion remaster, I think it's time to discuss what we can expect from the eventual Fallout 3 remaster. So, in this video, I want to highlight what that could look like and what changes might be made beyond the obvious better graphics. Before we dive into what Fallout 3 might look like, it's important to note what the Oblivion remaster actually is. Besides the graphic overhaul, all of the quirkiness that was in the original release are still present in the remaster. The game mechanics and minigames are largely the same, just with a fresh coat of paint. Even still, there are some changes that were made ranging from small things to a few big ones. One of the biggest changes was to the leveling system. What was done in this instance was to combine the leveling system of the original Oblivion and Skyrim, giving us the best of both worlds. In fact, much of the improvements made to the gameplay were taken from Skyrim. Even some of the features were taken as well. This gives us some insight into the thought process during development. That's what makes a Fallout 3 remaster so interesting, and given the fact that the Oblivion remaster was so successful, I have no doubt that they will be doing something similar with Fallout 3. So in that line of thinking, I think we can take a look at both Fallout 3 and Fallout 4 to determine what changes will happen and what will stay the same. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty. One of the first things that I think will be changed is the gunplay. We know that New Vegas improved on it, but Fallout 4 was far superior in terms of gunplay, so this is absolutely going to be one of the biggest changes. Now, to be clear, I'm not saying that they're just going to completely change gunplay entirely, because that would mean making a great deal of changes to the game itself. Rather, I'm saying that the real changes will come in the form of the calculations and data tables that are built into the code of the game. Remember, they're calling them remasters, not remakes, even though it may seem like it should be the latter. That said, based on the modifiers to Oblivion, I think it will mirror the same way in Fallout 3. Other changes to gunplay will most certainly include iron sights aiming. It's in New Vegas and in Fallout 4, so there's no way it doesn't get changed in Fallout 3. I also expect that the weapon sway will be included since it is in the later games. VATS. In Fallout 3 and New Vegas, time stopped while in VATS, but then, in Fallout 4, it was changed to just slow time instead, and this is where it could go either way. I am personally leaning toward the slow time option only because it just makes more sense. Skills and leveling are most certainly going to change too. Fallout 3 was kind of broken as far as skills go because nearly every weapon in the game fell into the small gun skill tree. I anticipate that one of two things will happen here. Either they will simply add some new specialized skills, or they will rework the weapons table in order to change where certain weapons will be affected by what skill. Based on Oblivion, the leveling system will most likely be simplified and streamlined to just give a certain amount of points to use rather than getting a certain amount based on your character intelligence. That is a big one because if you played with a high intelligence build, you could easily max out all of your skills before ever getting to the endgame in Fallout 3. Honestly, if you played with a high intelligence and dumped all of your points into small gun skill, by level 4 you would have a character that is way overpowered that early in the game. So yes, it is something that is certainly going to get changed based on what they did with Oblivion. Another change that will be added is sprinting. They did it with Oblivion, and I doubt that they won't include it with Fallout 3. Companions will also likely see a change as well, to make them essential unless the player kills them. I also foresee that when you dismiss a companion, they won't go back to where they were recruited from, but rather go back to our player home. Speaking of the player home, I imagine that the customization for it will get an overhaul as well, to allow for greater control over the design and layout. Another change that will likely come is to the crafting system. This includes cooking, weapons, and armor. I don't think it will be on the same level as Fallout 4, but it will certainly be improved upon slightly. As for character customization, that is going to be greatly expanded based on what was done with Oblivion. We will see way more options to choose from. Sneaking will change quite a bit to give us a better view of where we are on the detection scale. This change was already in Fallout 4, and they added it to Oblivion, so I expect the same will happen with Fallout 3. I would also not be surprised to see a grenade hotkey added because it is one of the most annoying things in the current edition of Fallout 3. To have to change your weapon to a grenade and then change it back when you're done, rather than just being able to throw one on the fly. Like Oblivion added the clairvoyant spell to the game, I expect to see Vans added to Fallout 3. Functionally, they are the same thing, where it creates a marked route to your quest target, and this could help players who find themselves lost in the metro tunnels. The compass will also see some changes based on what was done with Oblivion. This will help exploration a bit by giving more details to said location. Now, one thing I'm not sure is how they are going to deal with speech checks. Oblivion had a system that was built in that would allow you to persuade someone, kind of like a speech check, but in Fallout 3, it was far more complex. Speech checks in Fallout 3 were based off of your speech skill, charisma, and the hidden factor being reputation. This would give you a certain % chance to succeed or fail, but in the end it would still come to a dice roll, which was dubious at best. I suspect that they will just simplify it to a set number, and as long as you have that or better, it succeeds, otherwise it fails. This just takes the dice roll out of the equation. Another change I expect to happen is with power armor. I think they will bring this in line with the later Fallout games as a way to streamline the franchise. If they do, there are going to be several things to consider, but I do hope that they make this change because Fallout 3's power armor kinda sucked. I also suspect that healing will see some changes. In Oblivion Remaster, you heal once you're not in combat, kind of like the healing factor mutation in Fallout 76. I wonder if they're going to do something similar in Fallout 3. One last item to consider is the green filter that is currently in the Fallout 3 game. I know a lot of people hated it, and honestly, I never cared for it either. Now, based on the Oblivion Remaster, I expect that will change because they were quite happy to change the color scheme from Oblivion. So when can we expect the Fallout 3 Remaster to be announced? Well, that is the real question. If we base off of how they announced the Oblivion Remaster, then the answer is that we won't hear about it until a day or two before it releases. That said, I think the success of the Fallout TV series caught Bethesda off guard. As such, in order to take advantage of the show's popularity, they would have to time the release of a Fallout 3 Remaster to coincide with the Fallout series Season 2 release. If this is the case, then a December release is very possible. These are just a number of things that I could come up with, and I'm sure that there will be more or some that I missed. What changes do you think will be made? Did I miss any, or do you have any thoughts on the ones that I talked about? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. While you're at it, like, subscribe, and share. And as always, I'm just glad you stopped by, and I'll see you in the next one.